So, fun fact about me, I never actually beat a Hoenn game until after I had graduated high school. Growing up, Pokemon Gold and Pokemon Fire Red were the only games I ever owned, but I remember my friend coming over to play Pokemon together one time, and he was playing on his copy of Pokemon Sapphire, and man, I was jealous. The graphics and vibrant colors were so cool, and I remember being shocked that when you used Surf, you actually hopped onto what looked like the back of a Mantine at the time, rather than just somehow transforming into a Lapras. After I graduated and got my first 3DS, my first home game was actually Pokemon Omega Ruby that my then boyfriend had bought for me, and I really enjoyed playing through it. Since then, I had started some old Gen 3 games, but never actually finished them. But now the time had come. I was progressing in order, and this was the game that had to be next. So, I started my Hoenn journey in Pokemon Emerald, where I could at last play as a girl. Also, I finally had a father. Yay for father figures! My mother and I moved from Johto to Littleroot town, and somehow it's legal to stick your kid in the back of a moving van. Yeah, I've taken over 2 regions now. I can handle being in the back of a truck. Anyway, I go over to meet my new neighbor, Brendan. I don't actually get to pick his name this time, who mentions that he's disappointed I'm a girl. Okay, rude. Then I start to wander out of town, but get stopped by a little kid who can hear someone screaming. Literally 4 feet away, I see an old man cowering in fear from a Zigzagoon. Fair enough, honestly. He says I can use a Pokemon from his bag to save him, so I go for my 3rd starter. I figured I've already used a water and a fire type starter, so now it's time to go with the grass type. I pick Trico, and he punches the Zigzagoon to death. The old man introduces himself as Professor Birch, and says I can keep the Trico I used to save him, so I named the Trico Falcata, which I think is the name of a sword, and then we wander out of town to explore for a bit. Past the next town, I run into Brendan again, who's doing fieldwork or something, and he challenges us to our first battle. Heh, little does he know how much political power I have in the Pokemon world. It's an easy victory, and after saying goodbye to my mom and getting a pair of shoes that make it physically possible to run now, I set off on my next journey. On Route 102, I caught myself a Wurmple that I named Worm, and by the time I got to Petalburg, he had already evolved into a Silcoon. Nice! While in town, I stopped to say hello to my dad, who is also the gym leader here. He, in return, sends me on a mission to help some kid named Wally catch his first Pokemon. Heh, guess he knows a champion at catching Pokemon when he sees one. Anyway, after watching Wally get himself a Ralts, I decided I want one of those too. So I proceed to spend nearly an hour looking through the grass before I finally find one. I gladly caught her and named her Kanade. I also caught a Zigzagoon simply for its pickup ability. Anyway, Dad says we're not tough enough to face him yet. Jerk. So we continue on our way. While in the forest, we run into a Team Aqua Grunt, and while I'm used to dealing with Team Rocket, I must say that pirate-themed outfit is pretty cool. Just outside of Rustboro City, I experienced my first double battle. I love double battles. Since I never had any double battle options as a kid, the idea was so cool and foreign to me, and to this day I still enjoy them. Anyway, we demolished the twins and make it into town. While exploring the connecting routes, I caught a Whismur that I didn't plan on using, and also Worm evolved into Beautyfly. With some training under our belts, I decided to take on the first gym. Roxy is a rock-type gym leader, so with Falcata on the team, I wasn't worried at all. I gave Kanade and Worm some experience, but in the end, Falcata slaughtered everything with Bullet Seed. With our first gym badge in hand, we end up having to save some old man's Wingull from another grunt. I have no idea why he would bother trying to steal a Wingull, but whatever. As a reward, we meet some important Mr. Stone guy who asks us to go find his son. Okay. And on the way out of town, we battle Brendan again. No big deal. Then we hopped on the old man's boat, cause he owes us big, and he sails us to Dewford, where Mr. Stone's son is supposedly hanging out. But that's also where the next gym is. Super convenient. So, since Kanade already knows Confusion, and Beautyfly also knows Gust, I figured this gym would be another easy one. We step in the gym to face Brawly and start the battle. Ralts easily takes out the Machop, and the Beautyfly takes out Meditite. The Makuhita gives us a little bit of trouble by breaking through Confusion and taking out Kanade with a Vital Throw, but Worm comes out to hit Gusts and resists his fighting-type moves, so even though Brawly used 2 Super Potions, we eventually took it out. Second gym badge, done. Next, we go into Granite Cave to find Mr. Stone's son, and I end up finding an Aron. Never had one of these on my team before, so I name him Alistair and add him to the group. Falcata also evolved into a Grovyle, so that was cool too. We eventually find Steven studying some hieroglyphics or something and deliver the letter from his dad to him. Hey, how's it going? Looking at some old rocks? Rocks are cool. What's this, a TM? Steel Wing? No, you shouldn't have. Anyway, I cash in another favor with the old man, and it's off to Slateport. While I'm there, I deliver the Devon goods, or whatever, to Captain Stern in the museum, but then get attacked by the Aqua Grunts and meet their leader, Archie. Whoa, how you doing? Then I leave and travel under the bicycle road to get to the next town. I catch an Electrike that I name Trouble, and then run into Brendan again, who challenges us to another battle. Heh, you're hardly worth mentioning, buddy. I've battled way worse than you, and... Oh, you beat me. So, I was really not prepared for that fight. Turns out half my team is weak to fire types. I tried to set up double teams with Kanade, but ended up getting hit and going down anyway. Even his stupid Wingull did a lot of damage to Falcata with wing attack, since Trouble is too low level to be of any use. And yeah, it was a lot of bad moves on my part, so, slightly humbled and a little embarrassed, I challenged Brendan a second time. I used Rock Tomb on Falcata to kill the Wingull faster, and Routes actually evolved into a Curlia in between our battles, so she was able to knock out the Combustion. And Worm easily killed the Lombre with Gust. We're just gonna pretend that first fight didn't happen. We make it to Mauville, and outside the gym, Wally tries to prove himself to his dad or something by challenging me to another battle. But we defeat him pretty easily, and he gets dragged off back home. Sorry, bud. I'd lose for you if I could. I'm actually pretty good at that. After exploring and training up a bit, I decide to take on the gym. This is Watson's electric-type gym, and I don't have any ground moves, so with that plus my recent loss, I'm feeling a little less confident, but despite all that, I decide to trust in my team. I take a deep breath, walk into the gym, face Watson, and I lose again. Turns out, my team isn't very good at dealing with both fire types and electric types. His Magneton with Shockwave just wiped out everything I had. I thought for sure that Alistair, being a Steel and Rock type, could at least handle a few electric type moves, but I guess his special defense is shockingly low. Falcata at least resists the electric attacks, but even then, he just didn't last very long, and couldn't deal very much damage back. I resorted to training up against every possible trainer that I could, and grinded on wild Pokémon for a bit, but everything nearby is just such a low level, and I'm really low on money, so I can't buy a lot of potions and stuff. So I figured my best option was to just try and battle again. We got to the Manectric this time, but in the end, Watson defeated me again. Man, dude, out of all the gym leaders so far, I didn't think you would give me the most trouble. I took a bit to try and devise a foolproof plan. His Voltorb that comes out first has a tendency to self-destruct almost instantly, so if I keep Alistair in front, he takes almost no damage from explosions. His Electrike likes to set up Howl, so I've got to try and at least paralyze it with Worm's Stun Spore to slow it down, and make it sometimes miss turns, and then switch back into Alistair because he's the only one with a ground-type move, except it's Mud Slap, which does almost no damage. It'd be nice if I could lower his accuracy with Mud Slap, but Shockwave is a move that can't miss. Once I manage to get the Electrike down, his Magneton has a bad habit of paralyzing everything. I can use Synchronize from Kanade to paralyze it back, and if I get lucky, a Confusion attack can confuse the opponent and make them damage themselves, but if I use Aron, Magneton's got Magnet Pull, which makes it so Aron can't be switched back out. Falcata resists electric moves, but also can't do much damage, and I haven't even faced a Manectric long enough to get a good plan against it. Not to mention Watson likes to use his super potions. I'll just try again. Finally, I decided to put Trouble the Electrike on my team and train him up a bit to become a pivot. Basically, he could just sit and take the electric attacks while I heal up other team members, and I can use his death to get a clean switch when I need it. And eventually, finally, I went in, battered and bruised, and thanks to Kanade's Confusion attack actually confusing the Manectric, it hitting itself in confusion, and a critical attack all in a row, I earned that stupid third gym badge. After that, I stuck Trouble the Electrike into the daycare, should I ever need him again, and made my way through Route 113 to Fall Arbor Town. While there, I was alerted to the fact that Professor Cosmo or whatever had been kidnapped, so I had to go to Meteor Falls to save him. On my way, I managed to find 2 Swablu's in a row, so I caught them both and took them both back to the PC so I could compare them and choose the better one. They were both pretty much the same, but the female has a speed-boosting nature, which was nice, but the male has an attack-boosting nature. In the end, I went with the boy Swablu because I like to punch people hard. I named him Eros and welcomed him to the team. In the cave, I listened to Team Magma and Team Aqua argue about stuff, and I kinda took Archie's side. Not because I like him or anything. And then I saved Professor Cosmo. Then I took the long road south all the way back to Petalburg City, burst into the gym, and was like, "Alright, Dad, ready to take you down." But he was like, "Nope, not yet." and I realized, oh shoot, I was supposed to go to Mount Chimney, wasn't I? Again, I didn't play these games as a kid. I don't know them as well as I do the first and second gens. Give me a break. So I made the long trek back past Mauville again, and this time to Mount Chimney. Team Magma and Team Aqua are all fighting and causing problems, blocking paths and whatnot, so I take the only available path to find Team Magma's leader, Maxie, hanging out by the volcano opening, and instead of just kicking him in, we battle. Eros the Swablu put his mighty Anna to sleep, then switched into Alistair, who slowly rock smashed it to death. Rock Smash is a really crummy move, and honestly, as long as his opponent is attacking me with physical move, Alistair takes no damage, so I wasn't too worried. Once the mighty Anna goes down, Kanade takes out the Camerupt and the Zubat with ease. Wow, I finally won a battle. Once that whole debacle was over, I climbed down the mountain and made it to Laveridge Town, where I remembered the fire gym leader was a thing in these games. Flannery. That's when I started getting worried again. As we know from the last Brendan battle, I'm really not good against fire types. Kanade is literally my only team member who isn't weak to them, and I really didn't want to go all the way back to the daycare to get trouble again. I didn't think it was worth it, so I just walked into the gym, challenged Flannery, sent out Kirlia with a sliver of hope in my heart, and the Numel hit a magnitude 10 and one-shot the Kirlia. Great. I'm just gonna save us all some time here. It took me 3 tries again. I managed to stall the Torkoal until it ran out of overheat PP, and I saved Kirlia for the end, and then won the battle by spamming Double Team. I also forgot that in this generation, the Sturdy ability on Alistair literally only works on one-hit KO moves, like Fissure, rather than a regular move that would typically knock out the Pokemon in one hit, so yeah, that kinda sucked, but I got the gym badge, albeit a little dishonorably, but whatever. I think at this point in the game I was feeling really worn down from all my losing streaks, but I had a goal in mind. I had to persevere. I had to keep moving on. For my team. Brendan showed up and gave me some goggles, so I explored the desert a bit, and I caught a Trapinch. And that made my day a little better. I finally had a ground type to deal with the fire and electric Pokemon. I named him Noble and gladly added him to the team. I also found the root fossil, and Kirlia finally evolved into a lovely Gardevoir. Things were looking up. I made my way back to Petalburg again, and this time my dad agreed I was ready to battle. I'd had a string of bad luck, but I was confident this time. His Slacking is a powerhouse, but it can only attack every other turn, and all of its moves are physical attacks. I can work with this. I've got Alistair. Alright, buddy, you were completely useless in that last gym fight, but this is where you really shine. You can do it, pal. Go get him. His first opponent was a Spindo, which did manage to confuse us, but with some iron defenses and an iron tail, it went down. His Slacking is next, and it kept yawning Alistair to sleep, so I switched to Gardevoir and used Psychic on him. He fails a counterattack, and another Psychic takes him out. Next is the Vigoroth. Alistair is back at it, awake and alert. We set up more iron defenses, and eventually both the Vigoroth and the Linoone were beaten. Finally, I got an easy win. My dad congratulates me, and I feel ready to give this journey all I've got again. I get the HM for Surf, and Aron finally evolves into a Lairon. I start to explore the ocean a bit, and while messing around in this abandoned ship, I run into a really high-level Tentacool. I can't turn down a high-level water type, so I catch him and name him Kraken. While I'm passing through Mauville again, Watson stops me and asks me to go turn off the city's generator or something. I begrudgingly do it, even though I'm still salty towards him. After that, I stumble across the Weather Institute being attacked by Team Aqua, so we get them all out, and as a reward, they gift us a free cast form. I name him Booty and toss him into the PC. Sorry, dude. After crossing the bridge, Brendan finds us again and challenges us to another fight, but Kanade literally wipes out his entire team. I'm glad she did. I don't think I could have taken any more embarrassment. Brendan rewards us by giving us the HM for Fly, and also Eros evolves into a lovely Altaria. We make it to Four Tree City, which has always been a super cool place. Outside the city, we run into Steven again, and he gives us a device so we can see the invisible Kecleon that keep blocking our path. I beat up the one that's in front of the gym and go inside to challenge Winona, the flying-type gym leader. While battling the gym trainers, Falcata finally evolved into a Sceptile. Awesome! Too bad you won't be much use in this fight. Winona starts the battle with Gardevoir versus Swablu. But I have a trick up my sleeve now. The Shockwave TM I got from Watson was given to Gardevoir, so she manages to zap the Swablu to death with ease. Next up was Tropius, so I sent out my own Altaria to one-hit KO with Ice Beam. Winona sent out her Altaria next, she uses Dragon Breath, and I use Ice Beam again. We both dropped down low enough to eat some berries, which actually worked in my favor because now Winona won't try to heal up her Altaria, and mine has a Citrus Berry, which gave it more health than her Oran Berry did. Eros manages to clutch a second Dragon Breath, and one more Ice Beam gets the kill. The Pelipper and Skarmory both go down to Kanade's shockwave attacks, and the 6th badge is mine. While on Route 120, Noble finally evolved into a Vibrava. We battled through Mount Pyre, and then got to Lily Cove, where I attempted a Pokemon contest with Kanade. We didn't quite win, but come on, we all know who the real people would vote for. We then have another rival battle that really isn't worth mentioning, and then I find out I have to go all the way back to Mount Chimney to activate Team Magma's secret hideout. At least I have Fly now. While battling my way through, Kraken evolves into a Tentacruel, and then we finally reach Maxie, who has somehow found a sleeping Groudon. He uses an orb to awaken the legendary Pokemon because he somehow thinks he can control it. Well, Groudon pieces the heck out, and Maxie gets all mad and decides to attack me. Kanade took care of the Crowbot, Eros took care of the Mightyena, and Kraken knocked out the Camerupt with a single surf. Easy victory. After that, I have to fly all the way back to Lily Cove and take out everyone in the Aqua hideout. While I'm there, I find a Master Ball just kinda sitting around, so I take it. Once that's all taken care of, I surf to Moss Deep City, and even though I know a giant, angry, legendary Pokemon is wandering around right now, I decide, meh, might as well take on the next gym. This gym is the Psychic-type Double Battle Gym, which, as I said before, I love double battles, so I was super excited. Tate and Liza start off with Claydol and Xatu, and I start off with Noble and Kanade. We get outsped, unfortunately, but Kanade clutches an Earthquake and knocks out the Xatu with a Thunderbolt. Lunatone replaces the Xatu, and after some hard hits, both Vibrava and Kanade go down. So next out is Falcata and Eros. Leaf Blade takes out the Claydol, while Eros and his apparently high special defense tank a lot of hits. Falcata manages to survive a Sunny Day-powered Flamethrower, and Leaf Blades both the Solrock and Lunatone to death. Great job, guys. We got our 7th badge, and then Steven shows up and is all like, hey, let's chat. And I'm like, anything for you, darling. Also, Team Magma shows up again to attack the space station because they just don't know when to quit. So Steven and I team up to take them down again. After that, I have to start searching underwater to find Team Aqua's submarine, and eventually it leads me to an underwater cavern where Archie has found the sleeping Kyogre. Man, how in the world did you guys find these legendary Pokemon? Archie decides he wants to fight me, and even though I'd really just rather talk things out, but I beat him and Kyogre wakes up too and is like, LOL, nope. And he pieces out as well. Gee, rotten luck. Wanna go get a bite to eat? After that, I surf to Sootopolis, which seems to be the best place for a fight to go down because both Groudon and Kyogre show up and start yelling at each other, even though Groudon is clearly at a disadvantage here. And Steven and some guy named Wallace shows up and they're like, hey, what do you think we should do to stop this? So I suggest going to Sky Pillar. Honestly, I have no idea how I knew to do that, so that's where we go. I trek my way up to the top and find the legendary Pokemon Rayquaza taking a nice little nap, so I walk up to him, poke him on the nose, and say, hey, your kids are causing problems. And he gets all pissed, like, again, and flies off to shut them both up. And just like that, the world's been saved. You know, I managed to stop a mafia boss or whatever in the last 2 regions, but in Hoenn, it feels nice to actually be the hero who saves the region from utter destruction. Now when I take control of their government, I'll have a pretty good claim. Oh, also Alistair evolved into an Aggron. After going back to Sootopolis to receive my praise and watch 2 evil team leaders kind of just get let off the hook, I figure I might as well take on the 8th and final gym. The gym leader here is Hoenn, a water-type gym leader. His first ever Pokemon are no big deal. In fact, I kind of used them to switch train up Noble because I really want him to evolve. Lovedisc, Crawdont, Celio, and Whiscash all easily went down to either Kanade's Thunderbolt or Falcata's Leaf Blade. But last up was Kingdra. Much like the last generation with Claire, Kingdra is more difficult to take down. He froze Gardevoir, so I switched into Eros to try and use a Dragon-type attack, but instantly went down to Ice Beam. Of course. I switched into Falcata, who did some damage, but he also eventually went down, so I sent out Alistair to buy time while I thawed and healed up Kanade. And the Kingdra not only healed himself with rest, but also started using Double Team. Oh dear. Alistair does a little bit of damage, but naturally he goes down to a Water Pulse, so I sent out Kanade again, set up a bunch of Calm Minds, and even though Hoenn Hyper Potions the Kingdra, I managed to land a crit, 1-hit KO Psychic to take it out. Awesome work, Kanade. The final badge is mine, and with that, there's only a few things left to do. I go back to the Sky Pillar to get my Rayquaza, and actually struggled for nearly another hour trying to get my way back up over those stupid cracked floors without falling through. To be fair, this was my first time trying to do this. Ever. But amidst my struggling, Noble finally evolved into a Flygon, so that was cool. My team at last was fully evolved. Finally, at the top, I met the Rayquaza again, we shared an understanding look of determination, and I threw the Master Ball to bring him along on the final stretch of my journey. Oh, and I named him Yakuza. Then I made it to Evergrande City, which consists of a single Pokémon Center, battled Wally in the Victory Road, and continued on my way. Normally here I'd just skip to the Elite Four and not mention my time on the Victory Road, but I just wanted to mention that trainer double battle at the very last stretch of the cave totally caught me off guard. Both trainers had a Slacking and also a Pokemon that could use Skill Swap, so they'd take the Truant skill, that lets you attack every other turn, away from the Slacking, allowing him to attack with full force at all times. Plus, the following turn they used Skill Swap on my Pokemon, so now I have Truant. I must admit, I was dumbfounded with this AI strategy. Also, being at the very end of Victory Road, I was totally out of healing items, and my team was just not in the best of shape. It was a long, rough battle. In fact, I'd say it was the most intense battle yet, because I hadn't saved beforehand, and I didn't know it was coming, so if I lost, I was going to have to go through Victory Road all over again. And I hate going through caves. In the end, it came down to just one Slacking, who no longer had Truant, and my Sceptile. Falcata managed to clutch one last attack on 1 HP, only to outspeed and take out the Slacking. I was so exhausted and relieved after that battle, and my respect for Sceptile honestly skyrocketed that day. Falcata, you are my precious gem among Pokemon. Finally, I made it to the Elite Four with, quite honestly, a really handsome-looking team. So, with both the power and the good looks, we stepped confidently into the Pokemon League. First up is Sydney, the Dark-type trainer. Falcata easily takes out the Cacturne and the Shiftry with Aerial Ace, and Leaf Blades the Crawdaunt. The rest of Sydney's team, Mightyena and Absol, get taken out by Alistair. He has Toxic, and none of their physical moves can do much damage to him. That's one victory for us. Next is Phoebe and her ghost types. Flygon has Crunch, so with some help from Eros and Gardevoir at certain points, it's a pretty clean win. Third up is Glacia and her ice types. Kanade is able to use Thunderbolt on the Celios and Psychic on the Glalie, but her Walrein comes out at last to hit a sheer cold. Of course. So I try to use Aggron for some reason, but he goes down to Surf, so even though it's a bit of a dumb move, with her being an ice trainer and all, I send out Yakuza to hit some outrages and finally end the fight. Finally, we face off against the last Elite Four member, Drake. First up is Eros versus Shelgon. I know that his Shelgon always starts with Protect, so I use that move to hit a Dragon Dance and follow that with a crit Ice Beam. He sends out his Altaria next, which also uses Dragon Dance after surviving an Ice Beam. I thought it might kill me on the next turn, but for some reason he uses Double Edge, which I survive and knock him out with an Ice Beam again. Next is his Flygon. I do good damage, but Eros finally goes down to a Dragon Breath. Good work out there, buddy. I send out my own Flygon to take it out with our own Dragon Breath. Ha! Getting beat at your own dragony game, Mr. Drake. He sends out another freaking Kingdra, and I decide I'm done taking chances with those things, so I just send out Yakuza to start another outrage. This takes out both the Kingdra and his Salamence. Is this cheating? I don't think so. It's a casual playthrough. Legendaries are totally legal. He's not overpowered. Last up is finally the champion, who, unfortunately, is not Steven. It's Wallace. Yeah, fine. I've got Falcata on my team, and I'm feeling pretty confident in him right now. The battle starts with Wailord versus Kanade. I thought he was going to set up Rain Dance like Lance always does, so I set up with a Calm Mind, but he just went right for the Double Edge, which caught me off guard. But it's okay, because I used a Thunderbolt the next time to take it out. Tentacruel was next, and he gave us a bit of trouble, but Psychic was able to eventually take him out as well. Ludicolo is next, and I send out Falcata to take him out with Aerial Aces. Milotic is after that, and I do good damage, but eventually go down to an Ice Beam. So I use Aggron to buy time again while I heal up Kanade, and she takes it out with Thunderbolt. Next is Gyarados. I go for the Thunderbolt again, but get outsped and go down to Earthquake. Shoot! So I send out arrows to hit some Ice Beams while I heal up Falcata again. Once the Gyarados is down, he sends out his final Pokemon, Whiscash. I send out Falcata. I want this to be his final victory. He tanks not only an Earthquake, but also survives a Hyper Beam like a champ, and snipes his final kill with Leaf Blade. The Whiscash goes down, and we are the winners. At long last. I take a deep breath and accept my place as champion while me and my team enter the Hall of Fame again. Honestly, that run was a little harder than I had expected. I'd never played all the way through a 3rd gen game before, specifically Emerald, so I was actually pretty unfamiliar with a lot of the battles and what was going to happen next. I was caught by surprise a lot, and I ended up with a team that had a lot of late-game evolutions, which I think is what made the mid-game so rough. But after all that persevering and fighting, we did it. I have conquered Hoenn, and my reign over the Pokémon world has spread just a little bit farther. And I had a lot of fun while doing it, but my challenge isn't over yet. I must continue with my goal, so, with my short-lived time on the Hoenn throne, I leave my team in charge of things once again and prepare for the next road ahead of me.